Imagine being a teenager and having TikTok, right? And you're scrolling through TikTok and you stumble across videos promising to transform your face, your body, even your entire life. With titles like How to Looksmax in 30 Days and The Ultimate Jawline Hack, their feeds are flooded with all this self-improvement content. And this particular genre of content goes beyond self-care and self-improvement and is called Looksmaxxing. And this is a trend I was familiar with and had seen floating around TikTok, but it's very much a Gen Z, Gen Alpha thing. But I think it's important for all generations to know just exactly what is going on in younger people's feeds. And this Looksmaxxing trend that, as I said, seems harmless at first, kind of seems like self-care, hides a darker and more complex story beneath its surface. And today we're going to dive into this like modern phenomenon, one that merges self-improvement, obsession, and danger. We're going to explore its roots, the tools it promotes, and the mental health impacts that has on young men, mainly, who are its main participants. Something seemingly aspirational has taken a really dark and sinister turn that is equal parts fascinating and concerning. But let's start with the basics. What is Looksmaxxing? And I'm going to try and put it as simple as I can. Looksmaxxing, simply put, is the practice of maximizing your looks, your physical appearance, often through specific routines, products, or even extreme measures like at-home surgeries. Its roots lie in the concept and the idea of self-improvement, but with an intense focus on aesthetics. And the term actually originated from online forums like Lookism.net, a forum where people exchange advice on how to optimize their looks, which we'll talk about a bit more later. While self-improvement is universal, Looksmaxxing often comes with a darker undertone. In many cases, it's driven by dissatisfaction, social comparison, and even desperation. As I said, the term originated on Lookism.net, which is an Incel-aligned forum launched in 2015, and on Looksmax.me, which is its sister site dedicated to appearance-enhancing techniques. Both forums are part of the Manosphere, a web of communities created around male grievances, which, according to the 2021 paper Toxic Language in Online Incel Communities, Lookism.net and Looksmax.me are pivotal spaces where appearance obsession is intertwined with misogyny, nihilism, and toxic self-hatred. While self-improvement in itself isn't harmful, Looksmaxxing takes a hyper-focus and often obsessive approach. The goal isn't just to look better, but to completely transform yourself to meet rigid, idealized beauty standards. Standards largely influenced by social media, Hollywood, and in some cases even pornography. Now, there are two sides of Looksmaxxing. Participants often distinguish between two primary approaches to improving their appearance: softmaxing and hardmaxing. Now, these terms describe the intensity and invasiveness of the methods used, so let's break them down. We'll start with softmaxing, and this often refers to non-invasive, low-risk, and often lifestyle-based methods of enhancing your appearance. And it really focuses on easily accessible, gradual self-improvement techniques that don't require significant financial investment or medical intervention. Examples of softmaxing includes, I guess, what beauty gurus do: grooming and hygiene, haircuts, beard shaping, good dental hygiene, hair color, skincare routines like cleansing, moisturizing, sunscreen. Alongside fitness and diet, there is a real focus on losing weight or gaining muscle in the Looksmaxxing cult, let's say. Adopting a healthy lifestyle improve overall appearance, as well as posture and body language kind of represent a more confident you and a more attractive overall presence, as well as style upgrades, improving fashion sense and choosing flattering clothing, makeover stuff, right? There's also mewing, which is practicing proper tongue posture to subtly enhance jaw definition. So the overall appeal of softmaxing is it's low cost. Most methods are inexpensive or are just free in general. And also when it comes to safety, these techniques like skincare, fitness, and grooming pose minimal risks, and it's easier to maintain. You can keep these going in the long term, right? Softmaxing seems like the healthier approach. It's about taking care of yourself and feeling good, rather than chasing perfection. But even this can turn obsessive if it's taken too far. And that leads us on to hardmaxing. Now, hardmaxing involves invasive, higher risk, and often expensive methods of improving your appearance. appearance. These techniques typically require medical procedures, like more non-invasive surgery like fillers, Botox, or extreme lifestyle changes, which are made to see really drastic sudden transformations. So examples of hard maxing includes, as I said, surgical procedures, rhinoplasties, non-surgical rhinoplasty, chin implants or jaw reshaping surgeries, liposuction or fat grafting to enhance facial structure, hair transplants for a more youthful hairline, Botox and fillers, chemical peels, laser treatments, and then an extreme fitness or dieting focus as well, like anabolic steroid use to accelerate muscle growth, crash diets or unregulated supplements for rapid weight loss. Then we move into at-home or DIY cosmetic procedures, DIY fillers, botched attempts at cosmetic surgery, dangerous practices like face hammering to reshape bone structure, orthodontics as well, like adult braces or clear aligners to straighten teeth and enhance facial symmetry. And the appeal of hard maxing, despite everything we said, which sounds horrible, is that it aims to achieve significant changes that soft maxing just cannot provide, that lifestyle changes cannot provide. And they're also quick fixes because they're surgical and medical that yield faster results than gradual lifestyle changes. And when you look into it, the line between soft maxing and hard maxing often gets blurred. Someone might start with skincare and fitness, but the pressure to do more, like surgery, can build over time, and it's a real slippery slope. Especially as Botox and fillers are so easy accessible now, even on the black market along with steroids, you can buy these on like eBay and do it yourself, which is terrifying. But soft maxing is also kind of seen as a trial stage for Looksmaxxing in general before moving on to hard maxing. If they don't achieve their desired results, they're gonna go on to hard maxing. And this is where those forums come back in. Communities like Looksmax.me often push users toward hard maxing as the ultimate solution, often glamorizing it and just saying, no, this is the most effective way to level up your appearance. So I mentioned a few very briefly, but let's talk about these Looksmaxxing methods and if there's actually any science behind them and if they actually work. Of course, skincare and grooming, arguably the most safe and effective way to Looksmax. Take care of your skin, you're objectively gonna look better. Obviously going to the gym and working out is gonna make you feel better about yourself first of all, it's gonna make you feel healthier, and objectively you're gonna look more attractive, stereotypically. Jaw trainers are a huge part of a Looksmaxxing world, and for men and boys I should say in particular. Products like Mewing devices and Jawline balls claim to sculpt your face, but experts like Dr. Kurosh Madahai argue that they provide minimal results at best. Facial treatments and DIY surgeries is where it starts to get really dangerous. There are videos of people face hammering or doing DIY filler, which are not only ineffective, but of course extremely risky. Let's talk about Mewing before we get onto the harder stuff. Mewing is a jawline trend, and it's a facial posture exercise that has gone viral in the world of Looksmaxxing and social media. It's popularized by YouTube and TikTok, and this practice claims to reshape your jawline, improve facial symmetry, and even enhance your breathing. But does it really work? So Mewing involves basically placing your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth whilst keeping your lips closed and teeth lightly touching, or even like with a slight gap. The goal is to maintain this posture consistently throughout the day, throughout your whole life really. And the origins of the Mewing technique was developed by Dr. John Mew. It doesn't sound like a real name, does it? A British orthodontist, and later popularized by his son, Dr. Mike Mew. And they believe that proper tongue posture can influence facial growth, especially in children, and improve overall aesthetics. Now, the claims of what Mewing can do for you are actually kind of extreme. It promises like a sharper and more defined jaw, improvement in facial symmetry, a reduction of double chin and under eye puffiness, and better posture and breathing. Now, the science behind Mewing is interesting. The theory, I guess you should say, behind Mewing is that the proper tongue posture applies upward pressure on the maxilla, upper jaw, which can influence facial structure over time. While this idea is based on concepts of facial development during childhood, there is limited scientific evidence supporting its effects on adults. Now, orthodontists acknowledge that proper tongue posture and swallowing techniques can improve oral health and actually prevent issues like teeth misalignment. However, the dramatic facial changes claimed by Mewing enthusiasts and the Looksmaxxing world are unlikely for adults whose bone structure is already developed. According to Dr. John Mew, Mewing is most effective in children and teens because their facial bones are still malleable. For adults, results, if any, are minimal and take years to notice. Mewing cannot reduce fat under the chin or sculpt muscles significantly, contrary to some claims. Mewing might have some benefits, but expecting it to transform your face as an adult feels and is completely unrealistic. It's definitely more of a long-term posture correction tool than a magic fix. And I've been technically, I guess you could say, mewing because I've been told it's correct posture. And what it has done for me is just help relax my jaw, if anything. I've been having some tension in my jaw and grinding at night. When I open my jaw, it clicks. Well, it used to click, but I've been practicing better posture and I have noticed some difference. Nothing to do with my jawline though. That's only something that filler has done for me. Have I been Looksmaxxing? Maybe. And of course, TikTok and YouTube are flooded with videos showing supposed mewing transformations. And this dates back actually pre-TikTok. I remember like all the men on YouTube doing it, like how to get a better jawline, how to attract women. And it was all like these jawline trainers and mewing. These before and after clips, however, when you really look at them, are often just lighting, angles, and weight loss to really just exaggerate the results. A lot of the videos as well are people just going through puberty. I'll show you some examples. But mewing is a staple in Looksmaxxing discussions, especially amongst young men seeking to improve their jawline without surgery. And it's attractive because it's free, it doesn't require equipment, and can be done at any time, making it an attractive option for those seeking subtle improvements or those who think doing this really simple thing at home is going to change their lives and their whole face. It's also important to note that in November of 2024, the General Dental Council erased Dr. Mike Mew from the dental register following a misconduct hearing. The GDC found that his treatments were not sufficiently supported by scientific evidence and posted potential risks to patients. This decision effectively ended his ability to practice dentistry in the UK. Another method is the towel method, and this is something you're going to see in the comments of all mewing videos on TikTok. People will show their before and afters without really sharing details of their transformation, and the comments will be like, was this the towel method? Did you use the towel method? Or the search will be the towel method. And this is a technique that again enhances the jawline, definition, and neck strength. And it involves using a towel to perform resistance exercises, targeting the jaw and neck muscles. And people are doing this by folding a clean towel into multiple layers to achieve a suitable thickness. They bite down on the folded towel, holding the position for about 1 minute, and they repeat this process 4 times. And they perform 3 sets of 8 alternating chews by biting and releasing the towel in a controlled manner. And they can increase the difficulty of this by lightly dampening the towel with water, adding extra resistance during the exercise. Again, the idea is to kind of reduce facial fat to get a more chiseled appearance. So let's talk about face hammering, which has to be the most stupid thing I've ever fucking seen. And this involves repeatedly hitting your face with a hammer or hard object in an attempt to reshape bones and create a more chiseled appearance. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, a plastic surgeon, warns these at-home procedures can cause permanent disfigurement, nerve damage, and infections. Bone structure cannot be altered by blunt trauma, and attempting to do so is extremely dangerous and, in my own words, just fucking stupid. Why do you think that's going to do anything? Whilst many turn to unregulated diet pills in order to lose weight in order to show off a better jawline and cheekbones. So where is the main hub of this information? Well, of course, nowadays it's TikTok, right? And according to a piece in the Washington Post, TikTok algorithm plays a significant role in promoting this content, of course. Once a user interacts with even one video about Looksmaxxing, the platform begins pushing similar content relentlessly. And I am evidence of this. I saw one Looksmaxxing video, I clicked on the video, I looked through the comments, I clicked on the profile to find out more, and then I was just inundated with Looksmaxxing videos of all young teens before and afters of Looksmaxxing. It was relentless. And this has really pushed Looksmaxxing from these online forums into the mainstream. What began as a niche concept tied to incel culture has transformed into a widespread phenomenon. Trend, really, especially amongst Gen Z men. And of course this happens because TikTok's algorithm amplifies content that garners engagement. And once a user interacts with a Looksmaxxing related video, such as jawline hack or glow up journey, they're likely to see more of the same. And this basically creates an echo chamber of content that reinforces the idea of continual self-improvement focused on physical appearance. And of course, people at a young age are going to interact with these because they want to know how they can do this themselves, because at that age, looks are everything. And TikTok is filled with before and after clips showing users' transformations, and these often include changes from facial structure, body composition from gym routines, and honestly, more worryingly, diets. And really this is down to the visual nature of the platform, right? TikTok is built around short, visually impactful videos, making it an ideal medium for showcasing physical transformations. And of course, Looksmaxxing is often framed as easy and actionable, with creators claiming significant results through really simple, everyday changes. So of course, people interact with this more. They're saving these videos, they're asking questions because they want to get the same results. And these are young users heavily influenced by likes, comments, and shares, and receiving feedback on their glow-ups, their transformations just drives them to share more and encourages them to keep doing what they're doing. That's how social media works, right? And I will say many of these videos really emphasize healthy habits like skincare routines, fitness, grooming, and healthy snacks kind of thing, without going too much into diets, making this all more easily accessible to young people and young men again in particular. And the trend has also encouraged younger boys, men to openly discuss insecurities and take steps to improve their self-image, which can be empowering. But of course, there are those negative aspects. Many of these videos involve heavily edited or staged results, setting really unattainable expectations for viewers. Some transformations rely heavily on lighting, filters, other manipulations, or basically just growing up and going through puberty. Like some of these before and afters are obviously years apart. This also then leads to those more harmful extreme practices. So let's go back a bit. Let's have a look at how it became so popular. Looksmaxxing predates TikTok. And to understand how dark it can really get, we need to look back at what made it so popular in the first place and its links to incel communities. Really, it can be linked to a mix of cultural and technological factors. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have created a culture where physical appearance is currency. And we talked about this before, where TikTok supposedly does have an algorithm that favors more attractive people, no matter what their follow account. We also have the pandemic effect, which during lockdown, many people turned to self-improvement trends, and Looksmaxxing gained traction as people sought control over their appearance. But really, it came from forum culture. Looksmaxxing originated in male-dominated forums like Reddit and Lookism.net, often linked to incels, involuntary celibate communities. Psychologist Dr. Roberta Green explains that the rise of Looksmaxxing reflects a deeper societal shift. As social media fuels perfectionism, young people, particularly men, feel an increasing need to meet unattainable standards. And the research shows that the majority of Looksmaxxing content is male-centric. But why? Well, for decades, women were the primary targets of beauty standards, and let's be honest, they still are. But in recent years, men have faced increasing pressures to conform to ideals of masculinity, sharp jawlines, broad shoulders, and flawless skin. Looksmaxxing is deeply tied to incel forums, where the narrative often frames physical appearance as the only path to social and romantic success. Now, incels are men who believe they are unable to attract romantic or sexual partners due to the appearance or social factors. These communities often view life as a hierarchy where only the most attractive people succeed in love, work, and happiness. And not that I'm on the side of incels, but there is some truth to that. Initially, I did a whole video about pretty privilege, which I will link down below if you want to check out and look into that further. But Looksmaxxing in this context is seen as the solution, a way to escape the so-called black pill mindset. And the term black pill refers to unattractive people are doomed to failure no matter how hard they try. Sociologist Dr. Debbie Ging explains that Looksmaxxing in incel communities is not about self-improvement, it's about survival. It's fueled by fear, resentment, and a toxic culture that equates physical attractiveness to worthiness. And this is where it really does become disturbing. Looksmaxxing in these spaces isn't just about looking good or feeling good, it's about trying to solve deep-seated insecurities with superficial changes. As I mentioned, Looksmaxxing existed before it even became big on TikTok, and mainly off of TikTok. Lookism.net and Looksmaxxing are two of the most significant forums in the Looksmaxxing subculture. These forums have become notorious for their focus on appearance, their toxic environments, and their influence on the growing obsession with physical perfection amongst young men. Lookism.net is often referred to as the origin of Looksmaxxing, founded in June of 2015. It focuses on discussions about appearance, self-improvement, and social hierarchy based based on physical looks. It's active as of 2024, though its activity has declined somewhat due to technical issues and competition from newer forums. Lookism.net is one of the oldest and most prominent forums associated with incel culture. The name Lookism refers to the belief that society discriminates based on physical appearance, favoring the attractive and marginalizing the unattractive. And on this forum, people will post photos of themselves asking others to rate their attractiveness on a scale of 1 to 10. Discussions are very blunt, often degrading, and prioritizing features like bone structure, facial symmetry, and height. Members will then categorize people as chads, which are attractive, dominant men, normies, which is average men, or subhumans, unattractive, socially ostracized men. And there's a strong focus on how these hierarchies dictate success in dating, work, and life. And while some advice is harmless on this forum, like fitness or even skincare, much of it veers into extreme or harmful territory, such as DIY surgeries or unsafe cosmetic procedures. Then there's Looksmax.me, the self-improvement hub. Founded in August of 2018, it's dedicated to discussions on maximizing one's appearance, so Looksmaxxing, mainly to improve social and romantic success. And as of 2024, it's now operating under the name Looksmax.org. Looksmax.me emerged as an offshoot of Lookism.net, catering specifically to those interested in practical ways to enhance their looks. And whilst the forums overlap in user base and topics, Looksmax.me has a more pronounced focus on appearance improvement. Again, discussing things like mewing, skincare, dieting, posture improvement, all that kind of stuff. However, extreme measures are also popular over there too, like DIY cosmetic procedures, often with users sharing unregulated methods for altering their appearance, including illegal filler injections, face hammering, and at-home orthodontics. And there are also rate me threads on here as well, where users can post pictures of themselves, seeking brutal critiques and advice for improvement. A study by Pelzer on toxic language in online incel communities from 2021 found that whilst Looksmax.me is slightly less toxic than Lookism.net, it still features high levels of misogyny, self-hatred, and internalized racism. And unsurprisingly, both forums cater to younger men who aren't satisfied with their appearance or social status. And whilst not all members identify as incels, many share similar views on society and relationships, with key demographics being predominantly men in their teens to early 30s, with users from various ethnic backgrounds, often expressing internalized racism, referring to themselves as curry cells, rice cells, or black cells. And of course, these forums are deeply problematic, promoting unhealthy beliefs, discussions often reinforcing ideologies like the black pill ideologies, discouraging users from finding solutions outside of appearance, and of course, misogyny, with women on the forums often being dehumanized as femoids or reduced to stereotypes based on their looks and perceived promiscuity. And of course, the encouragement of harmful practices. But as well, these forums and the Looksmaxxing community in particular has links to radicalization. These forums act as echo chambers, fostering resentment towards women and society. Some users who start on Looksmax.me move on to more extreme incel forums like Incels.is, where the focus shifts from self-improvement to outright hatred and violence. Now, of course, where there's desperation, there is exploitation, right? And where there are young men to be taken advantage of, there is an older man with a coaching scam and a podcast. Coaching scams are huge in the Looksmaxxing community, and these scams typically improve self-proclaimed Looksmaxxing experts, offering personalized guidance to help clients transform their appearance and achieve social beauty standards. You will see them primarily operating through social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and also on forums like Looksmax.me and Lookism.net. And these coaches often claim to analyze your face or body structure, provide tailored advice on grooming, fitness, and skincare, suggest specific products, routines, or even surgical procedures, and share insider tips on achieving attractiveness with hacks. And in reality, these services are often vague, unscientific, or outright harmful, and I don't know how you can be an expert in something that doesn't really exist. And these come with huge fees, some coaches charging hundreds or even thousands of dollars for consultations, often without providing any results whatsoever. They claim they can transform your appearance completely, often using buzzwords like guaranteed results or Chad transformation. And many of them come with fake credentials. These coaches have no background in dermatology, fitness, or psychology, or even personal styling. thing. Instead, they base their advice on personal anecdotes or pseudoscience, or even apps that you can download where you can put in your picture and it tells you what you need to improve on. And some of these coaches may even promote dangerous practices such as those DIY fillers and injectables and unregulated cosmetic procedures. Face hammering is very popular, alongside unhealthy crash diets and steroid use. But a lot of these coaches are affiliated with products or outright sell overpriced products such as supplements, jawline trainers, or skincare products that offer little to no real benefit in completely transforming you. Often they are just affiliate marketers who have found their vulnerable audience and are making money out of them. And this obviously works because they are preying on the most vulnerable. They are preying on not only people with insecurities, but teenagers and young adults with insecurities. Many people who seek out Looksmaxxing coaching are already struggling with self-esteem issues or body dysmorphia, and scammers exploit this vulnerability, offering false hope. Young men, particularly those influenced by Incel or the manosphere ideologies, may feel that improving their looks is their only path to social or romantic success. I feel like I went down many different routes there at all different times. It was all a bit everywhere, but I feel like that's a reflection of how the rabbit hole that I went down when it comes to Looksmaxxing. There's so much more to it. There's like right-wing extremism. But honestly, the more I looked into Looksmaxxing, the more back and forth I was doing about like, what are these jawline trainers? Wait, who are these coaches? Wait, what's this forum? Who are these? What's it got to do with incels again? It was everywhere and it's deep. And at first I thought Looksmaxxing seemed like a harmless trend at first glance, like people just wanted to improve their health really, with weight loss being a byproduct of that. But it reveals a much deeper issue about how we view beauty, of course, self-worth, and even masculinity, even in a modern day society where masculinity isn't really what it once was. But we also now see the world going back to those old-fashioned ideologies. And while self-improvement can be empowering, the obsession with perfection often leads to harm, both physical and psychological, especially when it comes to teenagers. What I will say though, Looksmaxxing was initially intertwined with the incel ideology, but once it kind of moved onto platforms like TikTok, the shift really introduced a broad audience to the concept of Looksmaxxing, diluting its association with incel culture. But despite going more mainstreams, there are rightfully still concerns about the underlying implications of Looksmaxxing. There is still that risk of people getting into Looksmaxxing on TikTok, then going down the more toxic path, heading back to its origins. With Looksmaxxing content on TikTok criticized pulling young men into incel subcultures where they are exposed to those harmful ideologies. While Looksmaxxing has evolved beyond its incel beginnings, it remains essential to approach the trend with awareness, and if you have teens at home, being aware that this trend is a thing, being aware of its origins and its potential risks associated with its more extreme practices. What do you think about Looksmaxxing? Have you heard of it before? Because I had heard of it before, but the rabbit hole that I went down was kind of crazy that I still can't wrap my head around it. It's kind of crazy to me that whilst I grew up in Y2K culture where being skinny was the main thing, heroin chic was reigning supreme, and we literally had reality survival shows ranking people on their appearance and how much surgery they can get and how good they looked after it, I feel like growing up today online must be so tough, so difficult, especially when it comes to physical attractiveness. Like, I don't think I could do it. Yeah, it's extreme. It's gotten very, very extreme. But I guess in a world where we essentially live online, like people more online than you do in real life. When I was young, I was seen by my teachers, the other people at school, and my friends, and that's, I guess, who I cared about when it came to how I look. But nowadays, people have millions of people online watching them potentially. So I feel like the feeling that they have to look like perfection is much greater than it was back in my day. But let me know what you think. It's kind of terrifying, right? I've linked all my references in the description box down below if you want to read through these articles yourself, read through the studies. It's a dark but interesting read. You can watch the rest of the When Beauty Turns Ugly series here, some general light entertainment here, and I'll see you next time.